You and Chip have been planning this thing for a long time.
Nope.
Bull, you're lying. I can see it in your eyes, Charlie. Remember when he told you Chip was going to try to come down here and steal you away from me like he did everybody else?
Most people searching for American Hot Rod cast members in 2026 expect to find a story involving courtrooms, prison sentences, or a cast that fell apart under the weight of its own chaos. The show was, after all, famous for blow-ups, walkouts, and a pressure cooker atmosphere that made grown men crack under the weight of impossible deadlines. So the assumption makes sense. If a reality show that volatile ran for 5 seasons, surely someone on that crew ended up in serious legal trouble, right? Here is where the story takes a turn that almost nobody expects. When you actually trace every name from that roster and follow each person to where they stand today, the picture looks nothing like the headlines suggest. 2 people connected to that show are gone. 0 are behind bars. And the reason the series itself no longer exists has nothing to do with ratings, network drama, or a cast that imploded. It has everything to do with a death that took down not just a television personality, but an entire business, an entire legacy, and an entire world that only existed because one man built it from nothing. American Hot Rod was never a show that tried to manufacture drama, and that distinction mattered. According to its documented production history on Wikipedia, the series launched on TLC and the Discovery Channel in January 2004, ran for 5 seasons, produced 76 episodes, and followed the real daily operations of Boyd Coddington's custom car shop in La Habra, California. No scripts. No staged confrontations. The tension viewers watched was the tension of real deadlines on real builds worth real money, and the personalities clashing on screen were people with genuine professional grievances and genuine stakes in the outcome. That authenticity is what separated it from every other car show on television at the time, and it's what made the drama feel uncomfortably real, because it was. At the absolute center of everything that show was and everything it represented stood Boyd Coddington himself. Before a single camera entered his shop, his reputation in the automotive world was already extraordinary. According to Hot Rod magazine, writers in the industry regularly referred to him as the Stradivarius of car building, a comparison that placed him in the same conversation as craftsmen whose skill was considered once in a generation. That was not a casual compliment thrown around loosely, it was a designation that reflected decades of work, innovation, and an unrelenting commitment to quality that earned him recognition most builders never come close to achieving. According to the show's documented history, Coddington won the prestigious America's Most Beautiful Roadster Award 7 times, including an extraordinary run of 6 consecutive victories, a level of dominance in custom car competition that very few names in the history of the craft have matched. According to the same records, 2 of his creations became part of the permanent collection at the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles, placing his work alongside vehicles considered historically significant to American automotive culture. He was not a man building a television persona on borrowed credibility. He was a man who had already built a real legacy before the cameras arrived, and viewers tuned into American Hot Rod understanding that, even if they couldn't fully articulate it. What they were watching wasn't an aspiring craftsman trying to make a name for himself, they were watching someone who had already secured his place in the history of the craft, racing against impossible deadlines while managing a staff that was perpetually on the edge of walking out. According to Wikipedia's production history of the show, the series became well known for its frequent firings, its revolving door of crew members, and the extreme pressure that Boyd's management style created inside that shop every single day. Some crew members eventually left to work for Chip Foose, a former partner of Coddington's whose relationship with Boyd had collapsed into a long-standing industry rivalry. Even Boyd's own son, Chris Coddington, couldn't maintain a permanent presence in that environment and eventually left to work for American Racing Inc. None of that chaos, however, is what ended the show. The series didn't collapse under the weight of its own drama. It didn't get cancelled by the network after viewership dropped. It ended the way almost no reality television show in history has ever ended, because the main star died while the show was still active, and everything that show depended on died with him. Before Boyd's death brought the curtain down permanently, the crew had already been through something that very few television productions ever face. According to records preserved in the show's cast history across multiple fan wikis and production references, Roy Schmidt, a sheet metal specialist and fabricator who appeared in seasons 1 through 3, passed away on October 27, 2005, at the age of 64, after a long battle with lung cancer. He was not a cast member who dominated the screen with dramatic exits or loud confrontations. He was a craftsman, described consistently in retrospective accounts of the series as someone whose steady approach and deep skill helped keep projects moving when the pressure became overwhelming. His ability to shape raw metal into finished body panels was a quiet but essential part of the shop's most ambitious builds, and the people working alongside him knew they were watching a colleague fight a serious illness while the daily grind of the shop continued around them. According to a post made by a member of Boyd Coddington's own staff on a fan forum at the time, Roy's wife Laura had also battled illness in the period before his passing and had died shortly before Roy himself. The message from the shop described them as soul mates, and noted that Roy had found the loss of his wife deeply devastating in his final weeks. When Roy passed, the staff post confirmed the news to fans who had been following his condition, and expressed that Roy and his family had appreciated the messages of support that viewers had sent in during his illness. According to production records and retrospective discussions about the series, his death occurred during filming connected to Season 4, specifically the episode known as 54 Corvette and 55 Chevy, making him the only American Hot Rod cast member confirmed to have passed away while the show was actively in production. What made that situation uniquely painful was the timeline. The crew didn't get to pause. According to the documented history of the production, filming continued after Schmidt's death because the business still had customers waiting, builds in progress, and deadlines that didn't adjust for personal loss. Viewers watching those episodes had no way of knowing they were watching a team quietly trying to move forward through grief while the cameras kept rolling. Roy Schmidt's final appearances as part of that shop remain visible in episodes that fans can still watch today, and for those who know the history, those frames carry a weight that wasn't visible at the time of broadcast. 3 years later, the loss that would permanently end the entire enterprise arrived. On February 27, 2008, Boyd Coddington died at Presbyterian Intercommunity Hospital in Whittier, California. He was 63 years old. According to his publicist's statement reported by Old Cars Weekly at the time of his passing, Coddington had been a long-time diabetic, and his death came from complications brought on by a recent surgery. According to more detailed reporting from the Los Angeles Times and confirmed by subsequent biographical records, the surgery was related to a perforated colon, and the complications that followed included sepsis and kidney problems, a combination that proved fatal despite early expectations of recovery. According to the Hot Rod Fandom Wiki, Coddington had been hospitalized in January 2008, was discharged, and was then readmitted to Presbyterian Intercommunity Hospital, where surgery was performed and a full recovery was initially anticipated before his condition deteriorated. The statement released by the Boyd Coddington Corporation described him as a creative visionary who had taken hot rodding to an art form and brought worldwide recognition to custom car culture through his television work, his wheel designs, and decades of craftsmanship. According to that same release, he was survived by his wife Jo Coddington and his sons. Hot Rod magazine had honored him as Man of the Year during his lifetime, and he had been inducted into multiple halls of fame. The Boyd look, a phrase used to describe the clean, flowing aesthetic that defined his most celebrated builds, had become a recognized standard in the custom car world, the kind of influence that outlasts the builder. What followed his death was swift and final. According to Wikipedia's documented timeline of the show's end, Boyd Coddington's shop permanently closed on June 20, 2008, less than 4 months after his passing. The business itself could not survive without him, because the business was built entirely on his name, his relationships with clients, his reputation, and his personal involvement in every significant decision the shop made. According to accounts of the show's production history, there was no realistic path forward for the series because there was no realistic path forward for the shop. Every customer came to that garage because of Boyd. Every build carried his signature in some form. The show wasn't documenting a generic custom car operation that could hire a replacement and continue. It was documenting Boyd's garage, and without Boyd, that garage no longer existed in any meaningful form. That is a genuinely unusual thing in the history of reality television. It is worth sitting with for a moment. The show didn't fade quietly. It didn't get replaced by a spin-off. It didn't limp along for a final season with diminished ratings before the network pulled the plug. According to multiple sources documenting the end of the series, American Hot Rod concluded because its founder died, and the enterprise he built, the physical shop, the business relationships, the entire operational structure, closed behind him. In the entire landscape of reality TV history, very few shows have ended that way. With the shop doors closed and the cameras put away, the people who had spent years building cars under impossible pressure inside that La Habra garage moved on in different directions. Dwayne Meyer, who had served as shop foreman across all 5 seasons from 2004 to 2008, went on to open American Hot Rods Incorporated in Anaheim, California, continuing to build custom vehicles on his own terms. According to later biographical interview footage connected to retrospectives on the show, his path after television was not without difficulty. He was involved in a drunk driving incident in 2016, according to the same sources, though that offense did not result in jail time. In 2019, according to those same accounts, he underwent brain surgery following an accident, marking a serious health episode in his post-television life. Despite those setbacks, the available record indicates he remained in the industry and kept his shop running, and as of 2021 interview footage, was considering a move back to Wisconsin to be closer to family. Charlie Hutton, who served as painter and body shop supervisor during seasons 1 and 2 before his well-documented departure mid-build during the 42 Woody episode in season 2, built a respected career entirely outside the shadow of Boyd's shop. According to Wikipedia's production notes and automotive feature discussions about the series, Hutton opened Charlie Hutton's color studio in Nampa, Idaho, after leaving the show. That shop became a recognized name in custom paint circles, and according to the same sources, he went on to collaborate with Chip Foose on high-end projects and contributed to Riddler award-winning paintwork, cementing a reputation in the custom car world that extended well beyond his television years. Mike Curtis, who served as machine shop supervisor during seasons 1 and 2, was fired mid-production after it was discovered that he had been working for Chip Foose on the side, a decision that landed him directly in the crossfire of one of the most personal rivalries in the custom car industry. According to Wikipedia's biography of Chip Foose, Foose had once been Boyd Coddington's partner before that relationship fractured into a feud that shaped competitive dynamics across the entire industry. When Mike's side work was revealed, it wasn't treated as a simple policy violation, it was experienced as a direct act of disloyalty in the context of that feud. According to production-aligned retrospective discussions, he continued machining and fabrication work in the industry after his departure from the show, remaining connected to performance builds rather than disappearing from the field entirely. Dan Chicago Sobieski took a quieter path after the show ended, according to American Hot Rod production references, opening his own fabrication shop and continuing metal work outside the public spotlight. Chris Coddington, Boyd's son, had appeared across seasons 1 through 4 before leaving to work for American Racing Incorporated. Joe Coddington, who managed collectible-focused business work connected to Boyd's brand, remained part of the show across all 5 seasons and continued her involvement in preserving the legacy her late husband built. According to consolidated cast histories and the records available through multiple production reference sources as of 2026, every surviving member of American Hot Rod's cast is alive. Roy Schmidt, who passed away during production in 2005, and Boyd Coddington, who died in 2008 and whose death brought the entire enterprise to a close, represent the only 2 deaths connected to the show's history. The cast member whose legal trouble generated the most online speculation, Dwayne Meyer, never faced incarceration. His 2016 driving offense remained exactly that, a single incident that did not escalate into a criminal case. The story of American Hot Rod in 2026 is not a story of a cast undone by legal troubles or a group of personalities who scattered into scandal after the cameras stopped rolling. It is the story of a show that ended the way a life ends, not with a cancellation notice, but with the loss of the person who made it possible in the first place. Boyd Coddington didn't just star in American Hot Rod. He was American Hot Rod. The shop, the builds, the drama, the reputation, all of it flowed through him, and when he was gone, there was simply nothing left to film. What remained was a group of craftsmen who had learned their trade inside one of the most demanding environments in custom car history, carrying those skills into shops and projects and careers spread across an industry that Boyd himself had helped shape. That is the real ending of this story, and it looks nothing like what most people expect when they go searching for it.